You know, all week long we've had a beautiful experience of the Tibetan monks, and it's been a privilege to see them be in the present moment all day long while they are building this beautiful mandala, and it has changed the lives of many. And Geshe Dawa, one of the monks, has shared with us 3 different talks this week to help us understand Buddhism. And today, of course, you know there's going to be another ceremony where they transfer that, yet another beautiful transfer is what it is, of the delusion ceremony. And all of us are welcome to take part in that. Each of Geshe Dawa's talks tapped into what we teach here at Unity. And afterwards, some of us were standing around saying, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. They say exactly what we talk about. So why aren't there 300 people here every Sunday? They're saying the same thing, but in different ways. So they want to do the same thing that Unity talks about, ending suffering for all beings, all sentient beings. And that's what the Fillmores did when they started the Unity movement. So we use different people to help us bring that out, the monks this week, and we're dealing with looking at and examining what Don Miguel Ruiz says about ending suffering. And we're in the second agreement this week. And what he said, if you remember last week, is that it's hard. It's difficult to do the first agreement, yet that first agreement is so important. That agreement that says we must be impeccable with our word. That means we can't lie. I told Geshe Dawa, and I practiced that a lot, what our topic was for today. And I said, it's don't take anything personally. What do you think? Well, he doesn't really talk, but what he did was he smiled hugely with a look of peace on his face. So I hope you took home last week the handout on what we talked about last week, which is what? Be impeccable with your word. So this week I have another handout for you for this one. Don't take anything personally. Now, come on. Your ego is going nuts with that one. And it wants to jump into warp speed and say, wait, look at all the times people do things to you, the things they say to you that aren't nice. What are you talking about? Let's unpack this together. Don Miguel says, nothing others do, and I'm quoting him a lot, is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality. So even when they're giving you compliments, don't take it personally. Allow yourself to be humbled by it because it's a projection of themselves. And don't take it personally when it isn't. The way we see things is based on the agreements that we have made with ourselves through our personal domestication, which we talked about last week. Remember what domestication is? The way we're raised, all the things that happen to us when we're little kids and we can't talk back, and, well, if we do, we get punished. But, you know, the whole thing is we're not supposed to do that. So during this period of time, we learn to take everything personally as little kids. Right? I'm doing the wrong thing. That's why I'm being reprimanded, or that's why I'm being told what to do. We take it personally. And Don Miguel gives an example from his book about a little boy. We're going to name him Joey. He's visiting his grandma. He's going to spend the day with her, and it's time for lunch. And she says, Joey, let's have soup. He goes, I don't want soup, Grandma. She goes, Joey, let's have soup. Grandma, please, I don't want soup today. Listen, I got up early. I cut carrots. I cut celery. I got a chicken. I cooked it. I have a beautiful broth with all these vegetables and this chicken in it. You are going to eat soup. What does Joey do? What's he do? Eats the soup. Why? Because he wants to please Grandma. He doesn't want to upset her. That's how we learn to please others and allow others to take advantage of us at times. Taking things personally makes us easy prey for bullies, unkind, mean people. Don Miguel says that they actually wear a sign on the back of them that says, "Kick me." Yeah. If you don't practice the first agreement, which you need, be impeccable with your word, it's hard to practice the second agreement. But people that want to pick on you, Don Miguel says, they can hook you in easily with just one of their little opinions and feed you whatever they want. And because you take it personally, you eat it up, and their garbage, I'm quoting him, okay, a lot, their garbage becomes your personal garbage. Yuck. However, if you do not take it personally, you become immune to what he says being in hell. Because heaven and hell exist right now, and we create it. So please understand, when people do things and say things to you, it's very subtle. Like someone could ask you to take on another responsibility. It might be somebody in your family. It might be a friend. It might be me. I don't know. I could ask you to take on another responsibility. And if you're already on overload and you agree to do it, you're not being impeccable with your word. That person taps into the guilt and shame from when you were being domesticated, and you say yes, like Joey said to his grandma, because you don't want to hurt another person's feelings. That's no way to live. And yet you learn that early on. So, to be impeccable with your word, why not say this? Thank you for asking me, Reverend Eileen, but right now, I can't take on another responsibility. Wow. That's being respectful of yourself, and it's also creating a boundary. And if you do that enough, that sign, "Kick me," is gone. It's gone. And if someone right out there offends you by being mean, and you take it personally and you become offended, you want to defend yourself, right? That ego kicks in and it says, "Come on now, go for it. You got to protect yourself. Get out there. I've told you 100 times. You got to do this. You got to do that." And what happens is it becomes a right-wrong game. You're playing a right-wrong game with somebody. "No, that isn't what I meant. This is, it doesn't work." You can, when somebody's coming at you, what you can do is you consider the pain that they're in. You consider the pain that they're carrying that is causing them to speak in a hurtful way. And you can cultivate compassion, even though you don't condone their behavior or excuse their actions. But you don't take it personally. Don't take anything personally, he says. Whatever the person thinks about you, whatever the person feels about you, it's none of your business. Did you hear that? Okay. You can simply thank them for sharing with you what they think. I have to tell you a story when I was teaching high school in the dark ages. Yeah, we were allowed to take kids on a field trip 4 times a year. Of course, I'm going to take advantage of that. I want the kids out of the classroom and to be able to experience life in a different way. So I have all these high school students lined up anxious to get on a bus. They're talking and they're all excited. Now, how much they're going to have fun at the at the museum, I don't know, but they're just glad to be out of the classroom. I know that. And up walks, and I'll call her Mrs. Smith, with her son Tom, and she says, Tom won't be going with you today. He's going to go to the principal's office, and I'm going to find out what he can do to make up work so that he doesn't lose a day in school, because all of these kids are losing a day in school. Now, here's the kids. They're standing this way. The bus is here. No, I'll make the bus here. They're standing this way. She says this because then what she says is, you don't like to teach school. You don't even like to be in school. Here's every kid's head at once. What is Eileen going to say to her? So I just listened to her as she went on and on about, I'm looking for excuses to take them out of school. And she went on and on and on. And when she was finished, what did I say to her? Thank you for sharing how you feel about this. Everybody, let's get on the bus. We're going to be late. Right? Why would you get into a discussion with somebody? It's not going to go anywhere for you, but you can't take it personally. Their judgment, their feelings, therefore their problem, not yours. It's just a projection of their pain. If someone says to you, you hurt my feelings, don't even take that personally. Realize that you've touched a wound from their childhood or life in general. Instead, why not say, let's talk about that, because that wasn't my intention. There is a need for clear communication in order to be impeccable with your word. We said that last week. So if you're willing to talk to somebody, then you get it straightened out, because one little piece of misinformation, one little piece of what you believe is the truth, can snowball into a great big snowman. And just by wanting to talk it out and get it straightened out, it goes away. And I know you've all experienced that in your life. But it's scary, because we don't want the rejection. We don't want to feel that rejection. So we have to get down that we can't take things personally. It's only the wounds of the past that come up for us too when we begin to take things personally. And we have to allow ourselves to look at that. This is a lot to take in. How are you doing? Okay? Making sense. Okay, good. So when someone says something to hurt you in some way, what does the ego do? It jumps in, right? That's it, right. Its claws come out. But let me tell you, it wants to keep the wound open. It doesn't want to straighten it out for you. It wants to keep it open. See what happens when you trust people. See what happens. It just goes on and on and on. It wants to keep it open for you. And I love the way Don Miguel likens the ego. A huge marketplace going on in your head. I love it. So just picture a marketplace in Mexico, say, real narrow, vendors on both sides, one person yelling out, I've got this blanket for $25. I've got this one for $22. I've got this, I've got that. And you're walking down there and you're trying to make a decision about something and you can't. And the Toltec call it the mitote that goes on in your head all the time, keeping you from knowing who you really are. All the while, Holy Spirit's in there holding up the fort, saying, come on, guys. You have a choice here. You can go to a deeper place of truth and love. I'm here for you. Our minds live in more than one dimension, and we really are responsible for creating our own happiness. We are responsible for creating our own thoughts. When someone says something and you take it personally, you must look at your own wounds and see what is this that's going on for me? I don't want this. My life is not going to be happy if I keep taking things personally. It's a perfect chance for us to begin to create new agreements with ourselves. Those agreements that we made when we were little. Those wounds are to remind us, hey, it's time to make a new agreement. It's time to get out of hell. It's time to keep doing things the same way and expecting a different thing to happen. It's not going to happen. So use any time you have your feelings hurt or somebody does something and says something mean to you, do something about it. Look at the agreement that you've made with yourself and change it. Don Miguel reminds us that we do a job on ourselves that is unbelievable. If all the negative talking we did to ourselves was seen, we'd be black and blue. Because what we do is we say, oh, I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm losing my hair. I'm stupid. I am never going to understand my computer. What is it doing to me? I can't get it. I don't understand anything. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. The mirror isn't my friend anymore. It used to be. It's not anymore. What we do is we use our own word against ourselves. Even the opinions we have about ourselves are not the truth. They're lies. Because it's not who we are. We are made in the image and the likeness of God, and we are capable of so many wonderful good things for ourselves and for others. But when we use our word against ourselves, the ego's in charge. And the ego's telling us what to do and how to do it. And then what happens is we end up sad, confused, upset with ourselves and upset with others. So I forgot to bring the book up, Gary. Can you just bring this up? I've got to keep an eye on the time because I can really get carried away. Okay, thanks. So Eckhart Tolle has a book out, and it's called Guardians of Being, Spiritual Teachings from Dogs and Cats. And I'm going to quote here, one of them. I'm going to read another one too, I think. The human being says, I love myself, or, oh, I hate myself. The dog says, woof, woof. Translated means, I am myself. I'm in my integrity, being one with myself. But what happens is, and Don says this big time, I'm calling him Don, he'd die if he heard that. So Don Miguel says, people really like to suffer because that's what they're used to. That feels more familiar than changing your life, than making a new agreement. No wonder that monks spend their time in the present moment, knowing that that's all that exists. Because when we suffer, we like other people to get on that bandwagon with us. Oh my God, can you believe it? It is so darn cold here. I've had to pull out a winter coat I haven't had out forever. I know exactly what you mean. It's awful. Oh my God, and did you see Eileen? She doesn't even have a coat on today. Who does she think she is, So we get on this bandwagon and it's suffer, 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 and people love it. So don't expect people to tell you the truth, he says. Because they're afraid if they do, you will see that they're not perfect. So they're going to get on a bandwagon with you, We all do it. This, of course, is where we need to be understanding, loving, have compassion for others. We need to recognize their fear even though we don't condone it. When we realize and really see people who they are, and we don't take things personally, they can never hurt us. They can never hurt us. Taking nothing personally helps us break many habits and routines that trap us in needless suffering. Just by actually practicing the second agreement, You're able to break teeny tiny little agreements that you've had for years and years. One agreement at a time. Don't rush. Don't be hard on yourselves. Just one little thing. Because otherwise what happens is we oscillate back and forth, back and forth. No wonder we don't know what we want. No wonder we don't know who we are. I'm going to read this. This is the cutest little book. This is a cartoon, and it's a cat and a dog. Okay. So the dog is saying, I was thinking of all my problems. And the cat's looking at him. I was thinking of all the pain of the past. And the cat's looking at him. I was thinking of all the uncertainty of the future. And the cat's looking at him. And I was thinking, poor me. My life is so sad. And then I was thinking how little time I have left. And the cat's just looking at him. And I'm really thinking of all, just hopeless. I'm hopeless. What can I do? The cat says, stop thinking. Yeah. Pretty good, huh? So I'm going to ask you to take 5 pieces of paper this week and write, don't take anything personally 5 times. That's not like, a teacher saying, you write on the board 25 times. No. This is write it on 5 separate pieces of paper, and be sure you put it in different places to remind you, especially in your car. Okay? So when they're cutting you off and they're beeping their horns, don't take it personally. Yeah. You are not responsible for the actions of others. You're only responsible for yourself. And when you truly understand this, you won't take things personally. But you have to understand it. And when people hurt you, try to hurt you, with careless comments, don't take it personally. You have the right to say yes, and you have the right to say no. You do not have to live in shame and guilt. Shame is the biggest problem in this world. Shame is thinking there's something wrong with you, and there isn't. You have those God qualities within you. And when you're in the middle of chaos, you can stay in bliss. You can raise your state of consciousness. And all the things around you and the people that are saying things won't affect you. Because you can be in the present moment and you can be God in action. It's up to you. Our second unity principle reminds us that we have that spark of divinity within us. That spark within us is the very essence of God, that Christ Spirit. We are inherently good. So when ego flares up and you feel like you're in the market somewhere, don't take it personally. Let love, compassion, understanding in your life. Let God in. Don't shut God out. And for heaven's sakes, everybody, don't take... Okay, that was not... Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Don't take anything personally. Yay! Now, can you remember that this week? All right, don't forget to take your hand out, and let's do a closing prayer together. Good, he says. All right. Let's just turn within for a moment. It's here that I make my connection with God. It is here where you make your connection with God. It is here that our awareness and that our word is important. It is here that the spark of Christ's light within us knows that we can be strengthened and therefore not take things personally. It is in that moment that we receive that grace, that wisdom and guidance, because we let God in. It's in this moment that we are grateful. We are grateful that we can live our best life and stop suffering. And so it is. Amen.